श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषये पुरोगणां विधे सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं गुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। शुक्लां विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। व्यासं अष्टनप्तारं शक्ते पत्रमकलं शम्भ्राशिरात्मजं वन्दे सुखदातं तपोनिधिं। व्यासाय विष्णुरूपाय व्यासरूपाय विष्णवे नमो वै ब्रह्मदेवासिष्ठाय नमो नमः। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. So we're looking discussing the Sanjay Udhyoga Parva where Sanjaya returns Voplamavya and he was narrating all the details that discussions that took place in Voplamavya. And Dhritarashtra was trying to convince his son not to get into war, but Duryodhana says, I alone can defeat all the Pandavas with help from Dushasana, Shakun, Karna. He can destroy all the Pandava army and he doesn't need support from anybody, Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, Ashwatthama. If any of them do not want to join, that's fine. These Duryodhana with the two of them, he will go and destroy. So listening to this, Dhritarashtra again tries to convince his son, says that again, think about those Pandavas, Yudhishthira, you will not be able to defeat Yudhishthira because he's a virtuous person and you will never be able to vanquish him, defeat him. And even if you try, you will suffer in the hands of Bhima and Arjuna coming with Gandiva. And there is Drishtadyumna who nobody can defeat that Drishtadyumna. And there is also Satyaki, Krishna, all of them are there and nobody will be able to face up to them. And when Krishna is there with Arjuna, supporting Arjuna in that battle, it is impossible to win even for the Devatas. It is impossible to defeat. So listen there, therefore, whatever Bhishma is saying and taking him as your guide, listen to him. And similarly, listen to all the well-wishers of the Kurus that assembled here, Drona, Kripacharya, Vikarna, Bhalika. All these are saying, don't go to this war. Okay, do not do this. Just what happened in Virata war, that's the same thing. That's the proof that they can defeat you in that. Arjuna alone single-handedly defeated you. Now he is coming with all the other warriors, so you will not be able to defeat. So when he says that, then he, after saying that to Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra again asks Sanjaya, tell me, what did Arjuna say? Because Sanjaya previously said he went to see Krishna and Arjuna and how they were sitting together with Satyabhama and Draupadi. And then Krishna's message was asking all the Kauravas to do sacrifices, dana to Brahmanas and things like that, accumulate virtue, because when the war comes, they will not be able to, they will not survive. And this is the last opportunity to accumulate any virtue. And here Dhritarashtra asks him, what did Arjuna say? Because he heard about what Krishna said, now what Arjuna said. So Sanjaya narrates what Arjuna said. He says that Arjuna says that Bhishma, Dhritarashtra, Drona, Kripa, Karna, Bhalika, Drona, Saumadati, Shakuni, Dushasana, all these Vikarna and everybody that assembled there with all the other kings coming from Avanti, Burishravas, the king of Bhagadatta, Jarasandha, all these kings assembled there, all of them let listen because they have been assembled by this Duryodhana as a offering in the Pandava fire. So when Pandavas kindle this fire of this war, when that fire starts, all these will become libations. They will be poured into, each one of them will be sacrificed in that war. So that's why Arjuna says that in that, when you address them, go and all the elders offer my respect to them and my worship to them, and then say these words. He says that when Arjuna takes up the Gandiva and he starts shooting with Krishna supporting him on his side. Everybody, all the warriors on Kuru's side will become libations in that fire. So the option for them is, that's why, do not do those kind of things. Do not give up on Yudhishthira. Take his support and give the kingdom back to him. Otherwise, my arrows will destroy the army, infantry, the elephants, horses, everything, and all of them will be sent into departed spirit. So it's into the Yama Sadop. So they will be sent, they'll reach death. So Sanjay says that after Arjuna said that, I took leave from Hari, Krishna, and Arjuna, and then I left that place. So hearing this, again, even when Sanjay said that, Duryodhana did not think about it much. Okay, so looking at him, and he did not try to look at the peace options and things like that. All the kings assembled there, all of them started leaving that assembly one after another because they heard enough. So Sanjay's message was given and all of them heard it. And Duryodhana did not change anything. So all of them started, because it's been a long day for them listening to all this. So all of them started leaving. Once most of them, all of them left, Dhritarashtra then asked Sanjaya. He says that, tell me, you know all the strength and weaknesses of our army. Now tell me what are the strength and weaknesses of Pandavas. Because I want to know. Again, Dhritarashtra here thinking that war is going to happen, and he's trying to find the weaknesses in Pandava's side so he can help his son. And he's still, even though at 1 minute he's trying to stop the war, he's also planning to win the war. Okay? So he is asked Sanjaya, but Sanjaya says that I will not tell you anything in secret, because all the kings assembled and everybody is left, and Dhritarashtra is here with Sanjay alone. He says, and Sanjay says that I will not tell you anything alone, because you may entertain ill feeling towards me, because you may think that I am praising Pandavas and things like that. So bring here Vyasa. Once Vyasa comes here, I will tell you all the things about everything about the intentions of Krishna and Arjuna. I will tell you everything about that. So when Sanjay says that, Dhritarashtra and Dhritarashtra's Gandhari uh, uh, and Vyasa to come there, and both Vyasa and Gandhari come there with Vidura. They were introduced by Vidura, and then Vyasa says that, tells to Sanjaya that Sanjaya, it, so whatever Dhritarashtra wants to hear, tell him now about all about Arjuna and Krishna. So Sanjaya then says that the Arjuna, those Arjuna and Krishna, those two who are perfectly equal to each other, they have taken this birth here at their own will. So in this birth, they are here at their own will. So that means they're not here because of their previous life's karma. So we all take birth because of the karma we did in the previous birth. So whatever that's we are to enjoy or to suffer, all those things are result of previous karmas, right? But here Sanjay says that Arjuna and Vasudeva, both of them have taken birth on their own will. It is not because of they have baggage from previous births to clear. So that's why they taken. And he explains Krishna here is as one who is having abundant energy, and he has that discus in his chakra in his hand, and that is of 5 cubit diameters. It is such a huge um, discus in his hand, and when he releases that chakra, whether the enemy is large or small, it will go and pierce that enemy. And it depends on illusion, and it always bites effulgence. It's again invisible to Kurus because nobody can see this. So these Pandavas, on the other hand, are protected by that discus. And indeed that Krishna is having great strength and is vanquished Naraka, Shambara, Kamsa, Shishupala, all these people through that discus, and he is possessed of divinity, and he is superior to everything, and he is the exalted of all the beings, and he is alone. By his will alone, he brings this earth, firmament, the sky, everything under his control. So everything that is there is in under control of his will. So if he wishes, he can destroy everything, he can create, he can do everything, because everything is under his control. And Sanjaya says that you asked me repeatedly about Pandavas knowing their strengths and weaknesses. Now I'll tell you briefly about this. The whole universe, if placed on the one scale, in a scale on one side, and Krishna on the other side, Krishna will be heavier than the entire universe. So Janardana, at his pleasure, he can reduce the entire universe into ashes, but if entire universe combines, still it is incapable of destroying Janardana. So Sanjay here narrating that Krishna is there on the Pandava side, and that's the strength. Okay, so wherever there is truthfulness, where there is virtue, modesty, simplicity, there Govinda is there. So where there is Krishna, there is success must be. Again, you hear this Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna Trabardodra. So those slokas, so it's again repeats previously. Vidura said the same thing. Now Sanjaya says the same thing. Where there is Krishna, there is always success. And all the creatures are among all the creatures, Janardana is the one that guides them, and as per his wish, everything happens. And he is making Pandavas indirect means to uh, in this game, in this whatever that's going to happen in this world. He is using Pandavas as a means for that purpose. And Janardana, Krishna, when he wishes to blast your wicked sons, destroy your wicked sons, so he wishes to destroy them. He is that by the power of his soul, he causes the wheel of time, the yugas and times and everything that go around, and the he everything happens because of his power, because of his will, and he is the one. He is the alone, only one that is Lord of. He is the Lord of time, death, and all the this universe with mobile, immobile, everything, all the objects that's in this universe, in this nature, whatever that's there, everything is because of him. And the that Krishna, that Hari, he is the Lord of the entire universe, and but he still does his karma. So when he has to do his actions, he still comes at his own will, as in just like he has taken birth, and he does his work. But like a humble laborer, he does his work, but everything is Keshava. Again, he does everything through. All this is through his own Maya, so his own illusion. And but those men who have not attained him will not be deceived. So that they are not. So anyone that who attains Krishna, who realizes Krishna, they will not be deceived. Deceived. So they will be protected by him, and they will be taken care by him. So Sanjay narrates about Krishna. Hearing this, Dhritarashtra asks, how you are able to know Krishna? Because I'm not able to understand him that he is the Paramatma, he is the Narayana. But you say that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, he is the Paramatma, he is the creator, and he is the destroyer, he is everything. How you are able to do this? And I'm not able to understand, because we both are the trust are thinking like I know same as you. I studied the same Vedas, and I've more than what you have studied and listened to same thing. But you are able to understand all this, you are able to say all these things, but I'm not able to. Why? And Sanjay says that you have no knowledge. So this is interesting. See, Sanjay is effectively is his charioteer, and he openly tells his king here, you have no knowledge, but my knowledge has never suffered diminution. So it's my never my knowledge never decreased. My knowledge never went through any trouble, but you have no knowledge at all. So here his knowledge he is talking about is the knowledge of Paramatma, not just uh, any other things, but knowledge of Paramatma. He says that one that is without that knowledge and with the darkness of ignorance will not know Keshava. So he will not know that Narayana, he will not know that Paramatma who is clouded by the darkness of ignorance. One does not have that knowledge, he will not know this. And Sanjaya says that by the aid of the knowledge I have, I know Krishna is the union of gross. So he is the eh, everything that we see. He is that. He is the subtle. He is the cause. He is the creator of all. He is the he himself is in create. Nobody creates him, and also he is endued with divinity, and he is from everything that springs, and he is where everything goes and all the things return to. So he is that. Dhritarashtra listening to this says that what is the nature of that faith that which you have in Janardana and consequence of which you know uh, Krishna to be Narayana, he is to be Paramatma, he is to be Supreme Lord. What is that faith you have in him? And Sanjay says that I have uh, no regard for Maya that is identified with the worldly pleasures. So all the pleasures that we have in the world, right? Whether it is family, wife, children, or house, or money, or anything like that. Okay, all the worldly pleasures that one gets, I have not no attachment to that. And he says that I never practice useless virtues of woes. So again, he does not practice his we look in the Gita, Bhagavad Gita, karma sannyasa. That means renunciation of all the actions. Okay. So Sanjay says that I don't practice those useless virtues of woes just because to show off. I don't do any of those woes or things. And again, I work without reliance on him and purity of soul. Again, I do my actions with purity of Atma. So, purely for the purification of my Atma, I do all the actions. And having obtained that uh, purity in my Atma, that's when I realize Janardana, I realize that Paramatma through the help of scriptures, through Shastras, I realize Paramatma. So Dhritarashtra then says that Duryodhana, you go and seek protection of Krishna. Because as Sanjaya is the one of the trusted friends we have, go and seek refuge in Krishna. That's the only thing we can do. And Duryodhana says, even if Devaki's son is divine and he's united with Arjuna in friendship, then if he is to destroy all the mankind, even then I will not resign. I will not go and surrender to Krishna. So Dhritarashtra says that, looking at Gandhari, he says that this son of yours, he will sink in misery. Is this wicked soul? He is going to destroy everybody, and he blames Gandhari now that this is your son. He is doing all these things, and Gandhari says again, gets angry, and he shouts at her son, saying that you abandoning everybody, all the elders that's telling you to make this peace and do things, you are ignoring. But when Bhima strikes you in that battle, that time you will realize all these things that been said. You will realize at that time when you are biting dust. At that time, you will realize. So Vyasa, listening to this, he says that they again, uh, you also very beloved of Krishna. So when Sanjaya has been your envoy, he will lead you to good. Anyone that knows Krishna, that ancient one, that exalted one, when anyone one knows that, and Sanjay knows that Krishna. So that's why if you listen to him with attention, you will certainly save from great danger. So he says that subject to wrath and joy, men always are tangled in various things. Again, we heard this many times. So anger and happiness, these drive us to do many things, and that's where all the people are entangled in these worldly pleasures. And they, those who are contented with their own positions, even though and deprived of senses as they are by avarice and desire, they repeatedly become subject of death and consequence of their own acts. So again, so one that is not content with what they have, but looking for from because of desire and avarice, always look for something and search for those things. Those people will always become subject to death. Become subject to death means death can only come if you have birth. So that means this cycle of birth and death will continue for those who have these desires and who is not contented with their own positions. So it says that the path that is trodden by all the wise people uh, is the one where people are contented and contented, where people are not attached to these worldly pleasures. They, that path is the one that leads to Brahma. That path is the one that leads to realization. So the ones that are superior, keeping that path in their view, they've overcome by death and reach the goal by it. So again, by this again, what it means is one that is going in that path where they are content with what they have. They do not have any desires. They are self-controlled. Those kind of people, they overcome death. That means that doesn't mean this body stays. Okay, so the they realize Paramatma. They overcome death means they attain moksha. So Dhritarashtra then says, Sanjaya, uh, tell me more about that path without where there is no scare, where there is no terror. Okay, and obtaining Krishna, that moksha, how to obtain that? Tell me that path. Sanjay says that a person uncontrolled mind can only be by no means no Janardana. Again, self-control is important. Who is under perfect, who has one soul here means senses. Okay, so one who has their senses under full control, senses, mind under full control, that person can know Janardana. Again, performance of sacrifices without controlling one's senses is even no means to that end. So again, if you perform the sacrifices without any without controlling with lot of desires and things like that, then it will not result in that realization. So renunciation of objects is important, uh, and because that can come through spiritual light, and with that spiritual light and abstention from injury, ahimsa, again through that one gets the true wisdom. That's for so he says to Dhritarashtra that control your senses with all possible vigor, and let not your intellect deviate from true knowledge. Again, true knowledge here is the knowledge of Paramatma. So that Atma Jnana. And restrain your heart from the worldly temptations. So this kingdom, this son, wife, all these things, temptations you have, restrain your heart from those things. So control. So it says that again, uh, learned Brahmanas say that this is the controlling of those senses is the true wisdom, and this wisdom is the path by which men proceed to their goal. So the goal of that leading to that Brahman, Paramatma. So again, Keshava, Krishna is not attainable by men having uh, senses not under control. but on the other hand, one that has senses under control and desires spiritual knowledge, uh, and awakened by that knowledge of scriptures, shastras, and yoga, such person will attain Keshava. So Sanjay explains this. Then Dhritarashtra asks him, "Tell me again about Krishna uh, and all his names, all the meaning of his names and things like that." Then Sanjay starts explaining the different names as he has heard from others. He has heard, so he starts explaining those names. So he says first he explains about Vasudeva. He says Vasanat Sarvabhutanam Vasutvad Devayonitah Vasudevas Vedya Vrishatvad Vrishnir Uchyate. So he says that he is called Vasudeva in consequence of enveloping all the creatures with illusion or with his splendor, or he is also called Vasudeva for being the support and resting place of all the devatas. Vasutva Devayonita. So it Vasanat Sarvabhutanam Vasutva Devayonita. So again, he is this resting place, support for all the devatas and Sarvabhutanam for all the creatures. And he is called Vishnu because of his all pervading nature. So Vrishatvad Vrishnir Uchete. So he is called Vishnu because of that. And then why he is called Madhava? So he says Maunad, Maunad Dhyanat Cha Yoga Cha Vidhi Bharata Madhavam. So O Bharata, O Dhritarashtra, he is called Madhava because he is practicing as Muni. So because of his practicing as Muni and his concentration of mind on truth. Truth is again here the jnana of the ultimate truth and yoga. So mauna, dhyana, yoga. So that's why he's called Madhava. So Madhava also has another meaning. So we will see that in Bhagavad Gita. So Ma means Lakshmi, Dhava means husband. So Lakshmi is husband. So Madhava also means that. And also Krishna is called Madhava. Again, if you are looking at Narayana, Madhava means those meanings. So Madhu, Ma, Lakshmi's husband, or as said here, is practicing one practicing Muni or with dhyana and yoga. So, or the other, Krishna is called Madhava specifically because he comes from Madhu's race. So in Krishna's race, if you go up, so there is Madhu, there is some, there is a called Madhu, and that's why he's called Madhava. And then he explains, Sanjay explains about Madhusudana. So Sarvatattvalayach Chaiva Madhuha Madhusudana. So he is called Madhusudana because he is having killed Asura Madhu. So Madhu Sudana. Madhu Kaitabat, the Rakshasas we heard about their stories in Madhu Vanaparva, right? So those Madhu and Sudana, because he killed Madhu, he is known as Madhusudana. And also he is known as Madhusudana because he is the substance of 24 objects of knowledge. So 24 ways of Shastra Jnana, that knowledge. He is the source of that. And then he explained Krishna, why he is called Krishna. So Krishir Bhuvachaka Shabdo Nash Cha Nivrittivachaka Krishnastadbhava Yoga Cha Krishno Bhavati Shashvata. So he says he is born in Krishno Bhavati Shashvata. So he is born in Shashvata race. So again, Krishna's race is called Shashvata. So Shashvata race. And is called Krishna because he unites himself by what is implied by the two words Krishi and Na. Krishi means what exists, Na means it signifies the eternal peace. So he is the one who results in eternal peace. So that's why it's called Krishna. Then Sanjay explains about Pundarikaksha and Janardana. So Pundarikam Param Dhama Nityam Akshayam Aksharam Tadbhavat Pundarikaksha Dasyutrasad Janardana. So he says he's called Pundarikaksha because from the word comes from Pundarika, implying that he is his high and eternal adobe. Here, Aksha means implying indestructible. So that eternal adobe, that is indestructible. So once one reaches that adobe, they never return. There is no birth and death after that. And he is also Janardana because he is the destroyer. Ardhana is Jana, is people, but here it is wicked people. Janardana, he is the one that creates fear in those people. And then he explains about Sattva, why is called Sattvata, and also why is called Vrishabhekshana. So, yata sattvam na chavate yach cha sattvan na hiyate sattvata sattvata tasmad ashabhat Vrishabhekshana. So, he is called Sattvata because he's attribute of sattva. So he's having a sattva guna in him and never believes that sattva guna is always him. And that's because of that he is called sattvata. And he's called Vrishabhakshana, Vrishabhakshana, because Vrishabha here implies Veda, Akshana, Ikshana means eye. So that means his Vedas are his eyes, or through the Vedas, one can see him. So he is the eye. Through that Vedas, one can realize him. So then he explains the other names about first starting with Aja. He says Najayate Janitriam Yad Ajas Tasmad Anikajit. So Aja effectively means unborn. Okay, so he is the conqueror of force called Aja or the unborn because he's not taken birth. Okay, and taken any birth. So Narayana is increate. He's never created. Nobody created him because he is unborn. And then Damodaram. Devanam Swaprakashatvat Damodaram Vidhu. So he is that Paramatma is called Damodara because unlike Devatas, his effulgence is increate and is it his own. So because Devas and others, they get their effulgence and energy and everything from other means, from what they have done and through karma and what's been granted to them. But here Damodara, Narayana gets his things on his own, and because he has self-control and great splendor, he is called Damodara. Next, Harshad Saukyat Sukhaishwaryad Rishikesham Ashnute. So he is called Rishikesha because of eternal happiness. Rishika is eternal happiness, and Isha means he is the owner, lord of that, and so combining that, he is the one that gives that eternal happiness. That's the moksha. Also, Rishika means indriyas or senses and things like that. Isha means controller. So he is controller of all the senses. Then Bahubhyam Rodasi Bibran Mahabahu iti Sprita. So he's called Mahabahu because he holds earth, sky in his two arms. So he holds everything, all this entire universe in his. That's why he is called Mahabahu. Adonakshiyate jatu yasmat tasmat adokshaya. So he never falls. Adonakshiyate jatu yasmat tasmat. So he does not fall down, suffer any deterioration, and because of that, he is called Adokshaya. Narayanam Ayanachapi Tena Narayana Sprita. He is called Narayana, being the refuge of all the Nara, human beings. So we heard another definition of Narayana previously. Anyone remembers? I think 2-3 times we heard about this.
Is it Brahman?
He came from water.
Yes, Narasya Ayanam Narayan, right? So Nara is water. So the one having his adobe in water, the water, if we see Krishna or the baby floating on a leaf, right? Ashwatha leaf. So that Narayana floating at the end of all the universal dissolution at that time. His is called, that's the Narayana, Narasya Ayanam. So here Narayanam Ayana Chapitena Narayana Sprata. So he's called Narayana from being refuge of all the human beings. He is the refuge of all the beings, and that's why he is called Narayana. Then he calls Purushottama. Purana Sadana Chaiva, Puratana iti Sprita, Purana Sadana Chaiva, Tatoso Purushottama. So he is called Purushottama because the word Puru implies that the one that creates and preserves, and one that creates and preserves also destroys. So he is called Purushottama because he creates, preserves, and destroys the universe. Then we look at Sarva. So why is called Sarva? Because Sarvasya Chasada Jnana Sarvam Yena Prajakshate. So he is the knowledge of all the things, and that's why he is called Sarva. Then Satya. Why is called Satya? So Satya Pratishtita Krishna Satyam Atra Pratishtitham Satya Satyam Cha Govindam Tasma Satyopi Namata. So Krishna is always truth, and truth is always Krishna. Govinda is truth. He is the ultimate truth, and that's why he is called Satya. So truth is Satya. So Krishna is Satya, Satya is Krishna, and Govinda or Krishna is Satya Sut. He is the ultimate truth, and that's why he's called Satya. And then Sanjay explains two other names, Vishnu and Jishnu. He says he is Vishnu Vikramana Eva Jayanat Jishnu Uchete. So he's called Vishnu because of his Vikramana. So Vikrama, so prowess. So because of that, he's called Vishnu, and Jayanad Vijishnu Ruchete. So because of his success, victories, he is called Jishnu. So then he is called Ananta because Shashvata Shashvatadvad Anantascha Govindo Vedanat Gavam. So he is called Ananta for eternity because there is no end for this Narayana, and he is called Govinda. Again, Govinda, there are other meanings we will look in the Gita sessions. So Govinda, because of the knowledge of speech of every kind. So Sanjay explains all this and all these names, and he says that again, this Krishna makes unreal appear as real, and thereby create Maya for all the creatures. And then again, such a possessed of all these attributes, ever devoted to dharma and divinity, having endued with divinity, this Krishna is incapable of decay, and he will come here. Sanjaya says here that Krishna will come here for preventing the slaughter of Kurus. So explaining all the greatness of Krishna, Sanjaya says that he will come here for preventing that slaughter of, for preventing this war. So what happens after that? So Krishna's arrival and things we'll look at next time.